for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flags. American flags. American flags. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American.
Welcome to another episode of the Patriots Prayer Podcast. Today we delve into the heart of current events and unwavering dedication to the truth that sets real Christians apart from counterfeit forms that permeate our culture. But before we talk about Christianity, let's talk about the Bidens, because they are mutually exclusive. Consider the story of Hunter Biden, a convicted felon who committed serious crimes and, for all we know, may still be engaging in illegal activity. While sitting in at the president's official meetings, which is crazy in and of itself, Joe Biden once said that he considered Hunter to be the smartest person he knows, which raises significant concerns about who is really in charge. This could explain why David Weiss was instructed to grant Hunter immunity in his plea deal, a decision thankfully rejected by the judge. The implications are staggering. Hunter may be influencing critical decisions, including the controversial distribution of crack pipes by the Biden administration, which might have been influenced by someone with a history of smoking crack. Imagine that. In stark contrast, we celebrate individuals like Bryson Gray. We love Bryson for his unwavering stance on the tenets of Christianity. He stands boldly against the fake Christianity that masquerades as godly, but is, in reality, weak and worldly. True Christians often face accusations of being judgmental or intolerant, yet it's those very accusers who have lost their way. Remember, the 11th commandment is not, "Thou shalt be nice and forget the other 10. We must stand our ground and take God's side, even when it's unpopular in this corrupt world. Now, Bryson Gray is also an inspiration when it comes to personal health and fitness. He recently took part, or is going to take part rather, in a sporting event, a UFC style or boxing style event, we'll ask him. But this dedication to taking care of his body as well as his mind and spirit is something that resonates with us deeply. Maurice and I have also embarked on our own fitness journeys, and we are encouraging other people to do exactly the same. Now, Osigah Kakhu embodies this courageous spirit as well. Not only has he been a fierce Christian warrior, but he also played a pivotal role in getting the First Step Act passed. His dedication to truth and justice, grounded in his faith, makes him a beacon of light in these trying times. Welcome, everyone, to the Patriots Prayer Podcast. And don't forget about Red Pill Palooza. It's coming up on August the 17th at the Old State Saloon in Eagle, Idaho. This is the first event by the Patriots Prayer Network, and it's going to be an incredible gathering of like-minded individuals committed to faith and freedom. Remember to vote in the upcoming election as well. If you're not registered, go to voteforamerica.org and get it done, because this is truly the most important election of our lifetime. Now, let's welcome my guests, both Bryson Gray and Osigah Kakhu, as well as my co-host, Maurice, also known as the Native Patriot, to the Patriots Prayer Podcast. And remember, people, evil will never retreat willingly. It must be beaten back. Welcome to the Patriots Prayer Network.
There we go. Eddie, you are muted again. But welcome, you guys. I am excited to talk to Bryson and Osigah. This is going to be a fun conversation. I know that as far as my personal account has been going, there have been some tweets that I would like to address a little bit later on in the show. First, I want to hear from Bryson and Osigah, and so that way you guys can give a little bit more of an explanation of who you are and what you stand for and what you're doing.
Well, I'm Bryson Gray, and I just stand for Bible. Bible, chapter, verse, context, pretty much all of my views that's related to anything when it comes to morality comes from the Bible, and it stops with the Bible. I try to make sure I'm not going outside of the scriptures. And I like keeping everything inside of the Bible, so I'm not relying on my own interpretation, but instead of just what the scripture says. So one thing you need to know about me: I am a Bible thumper. I am a religious extremist. I am a religious zealot. Whatever name you want to call me, I am that.
That's why I say we're going to get along just fine, because I get all of that. I get every bit of that. In Osigah?
Yeah, absolutely. So likewise as well, conservative. I've been that way for years, as well as a Christian, of course. I mainly focus on things like economics. I think that that's a very important part of our lives. Also, as a businessman, an ethical businessman as well, I do stand for, just having gratitude for the country we live in, life as far as the quality of life, and just uh, quality of life in general. As far as that, not much to it. And met you guys in Detroit, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah, great conversation there. Great interview, actually, we had at that. It was like, I would call it brunch, right before we all kind of split and went our separate ways home.
Yeah.
Great, gave an amazing account of your January the 6th experience.
Oh yeah.
Told us a little bit about yours as well, Bryson. So maybe we should start there. I just got off the phone with Tim Hale about 20 minutes before I got on, on the podcast. So let me tell you some of the things that just happened to the podcast when it comes to January the 6th. We interviewed a guy by the name of Jake Lang. I don't know if you guys have heard of Jake Lang. He's bad news. He's really bad news. We didn't know at the time. We interviewed him. We went based off the information we were given, and come to find out the guy is knee deep in Antifa, and most likely working for the other side. I say most likely because I'm 99.99% sure based on the proof that I was shown. He had the same cell phone through 4 different prison facilities. He had a cell phone in there. He did a video interview with me while I was in Detroit, and from his jail cell sitting on his bunk. So I had another J6er call me up and say, hey, that dude's a bad dude. Don't help him along. I'm going to tell you why. And he filled me in on some things. And I said, well, I'm going to give you the last 4 of the cell phone number. If you can give me the rest of the numbers, I'll believe you, because I didn't want to just take people's word for it. He gave me the other numbers. And from there, the information kept pouring in, and it was none of it good. So we're, needless to say, about 2 weeks from now, we're going to have Tim on, and we're going to tell the story of J6 like it's never been told before, with all the videos and the receipts to back up everything that we're saying. And it's going to be amazing. But I want to hear from you, Bryson. What happened what is your January the 6th story?
If I'm not mistaken, Osigah was with each other, weren't we?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So Osigah's actually the first person I ever met in the movement, because he knew me when I was on Facebook before I ever went viral, walking around with MAGA hats on to like places I shouldn't be with MAGA hats on. So he was there January 6th. Listen, I said this to the FBI. I'll say this to everybody who asks about it. That was one of the most fun experiences ever. Now, a few weird things did transpire. I do believe the FBI was involved with a few of the things, but in reality, I do, me personally, as somebody that was there, I do not like this revisionist history that everybody is trying to pretty much shame January 6th as some like big psyop, and it was all orchestrated by the FBI. No, it wasn't. Because if people remember correctly, we had the million.
The third person that said that, huh, Maurice? The third person. You're speaking the language. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, because like as a person that was there, it's nothing we should be ashamed of. We can call out bad things that's happening without being ashamed of the whole event. You know what I'm saying? So people forget we had the million MAGA marches leading up to it, and to be quite honest, those are more wild than January 6th. People just don't, the stories ain't out. The Antifa was outside, Trump supporters, that was more crazy than January 6th. And people don't even understand that. But January 6th, I mean, everybody knew it was happening. The only reason everybody was there because a lot of people that were conservatives and Trump supporters were meeting up because we felt like our votes weren't counted correctly at the very least. You know what I'm saying? This is on Rumble. Is this on YouTube or just Rumble?
It's on YouTube, but it's eventually going to go away. Tell the story. It's all right.
Okay.
We already know, but good looking. Good looking. He knows exactly what they do.
Oh, yeah. Listen, my song Let's Go Brandon got banned for it. So you know what I'm saying? So I definitely know. But y'all know what I'm saying about how we felt about what happened with that election. Yeah. So we was outside for it. And it was one of the most fun experiences, one of the most memorable experiences of my life. You have to think about it. We're in Washington, D.C. All of us, none of us have weapons. We don't have guns. We were getting shot with rubber bullets. We were getting tear gassed for literally no reason. I thought the tear gas was fun personally, but just generally speaking, we getting tear gas for no reason, shot with rubber bullets when we don't pose no real threat outside. And
it was before the gates were breached. It was before any of that.
Yes, all this. Yeah.
So people need to realize that the police weren't defending themselves. They were antagonizing the crowd prior to all that other stuff that everybody.
Bro, literally, it was a regular protest outside the Capitol building. You know what I'm saying? And then, okay, so some people broke inside. The footage came out where people getting shown around and escorted around, and those people ended up being in prison too. So, and then there's a beautiful moment, and nobody told this story, and I guess nobody has it on video. But during the protest, there's a beautiful moment where a bunch of people, it was in a circle, so many of us. And everybody started singing the national anthem. And when I tell you it like kills me that nobody has this footage, it was one of the most beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful.
I got it.
You said what?
I got it.
For real? When everybody's singing the national anthem?
Yeah.
Don't post it. But yeah, send it to me though. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm telling y'all, this like is some movie stuff. This is one of the most beautiful moments in like American history, where it really felt like we were about to change something, we were about to do something. But the worst part was after we left January 6th and we walking back thinking we did, everybody, feeling good about ourselves. Now, there was a few crazy people. I mean, of course, life, you know what I'm saying? But
it's likely to be a few at least.
Of course. I mean, that's common sense. But the worst part was when we was walking back, we get on social media and we see every single conservative Republican pundit that claimed it's time for us to fight back, throwing us all the way under the bus. Like every single person you can think of, everybody with the 76 shirt selling, everybody threw us under the bus. And then a few days later, Donald Trump himself threw us under the bus. And everybody you talked to that was in DC was just disappointed because it's like, dang. And what it did is shamed. If you notice, there were never any huge rallies after that, because first off, everybody was bullied into not doing it, because why do it if you're not going to get support from the people that claim to be on your side? And then when Trump didn't, support it, then everybody was like, okay, screw it. And then the FBI started investigating people, so they put fear in people. And what I view it as, people have their opinions on what the FBI role was. My view, as somebody that had to talk to the FBI because they pulled up at my parents' house.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. I have the audio. I have the whole audio because North Carolina, you can record it. You know what I'm saying? It's just what it is, But I think their plan was to put fear into conservatives to never do something like that again. Exactly. I think they let it happen because the FBI people was there, and they knew the whole plan was to bully people from it, to pit conservatives in the mindset where they never truly fight back again. And I think it worked like a charm. Because I bet you if there's somebody that say, let's do a conservative, event again, I bet you people will be like, it's gonna be FBI. It's the FBI. Don't go. So conservatives will never ever have a moment like that again, ever. Because I think the whole plot was to bully them.
Yeah.
I think you're actually spot on with that, but it's not only the people that would be attending the rally, It's the people who would be organizing the rallies. They're also the ones terrified in being like, well, what if the crowd gets out of hand again? And then all of a sudden these events aren't organically popping up or having people promote them in a certain way because they're afraid of it turning into another January 6th.
You're correct. I know the people. If people remember, I performed on January 6th. So I know the people that, you know what I'm saying, put it together. They never put together anything else. Not like that. So they bully, but liberals, they'll get back. They'll get out there for anything. You know what I'm saying? So, whatever the play was, I think it worked like a charm. Like I feel like conservatives, we have better talking points and better opinions than the left. But in reality, we get played like worse fools than the left get played, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point. And I've actually had, if you can go back and look at some of the older podcasts, I interviewed a couple of FBI whistleblowers, and one of them told me right out of the playbook, he said, listen, the amount of FBI agents to the amount of American citizens, we're outnumbered galore. So we take these strong, just like you said, stances against these things so that way people don't want to. Because should the people ever really rise up, we can't do anything. We are completely outnumbered, outgunned, out everything. So it's exactly
this is why me personally, and a lot of people got mad at me after this. I stopped really caring about the whole people with the 1776 will come again. No, it won't. Shut up. Conservatives are a bunch of pansies. Y'all got scared by FBI coming to your house. I remember seeing other people that got a visit by the FBI. You know what I'm saying? And when the FBI talked to you, the first thing they told me was, we know you weren't inside of the Capitol. And my response, well, why are you here? You know what I'm saying? Right. Clearly, they were there to try to put fear in me because what they had quotes from every single one of my live streams, period, that had to do with January 6th. That they had transcripts of my full, complete live streams. And basically, they were trying to bully the people that was in support of it. You know what I'm saying? Because they brought up how I supported it, and I was like, yeah, because I can support a protest. There's nothing wrong with me supporting a protest.
Yeah, nothing wrong to say when Cuomo said, "Where does it say the protests got to be peaceful?" And remember when they were saying that on CNN, they didn't have a problem with that.
They have a problem. And then the scariest part is they were trying to get me to throw Enrique from the Proud Boys. They're trying to get me to throw him under the bus because they had pinged our phones together because it wasn't even in DC, but
hold on, wait.
Me and Enrique was hanging out and they tried to ping our phones together and they said, you were with him. Did y'all talk about anything about January 6th? And I said, no, we did not. We were hanging out as buddies and we were chilling because Enrique is a good guy. And they were trying to set up Enrique, you're trying to use other influences to set up Enrique. It's just, the fear mongering tactics they did were so crazy to me. But like I said, it worked at the grand. It might not have worked on me, but it worked in the, generally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, people have been through stuff are just not going to be intimidated. I've been through the system before. I can't be intimidated. I've had nothing. I've had everything. You ain't going to scare me with the police. You're just not going to scare me and intimidate me at all. But go ahead. I was looking for a clip because I had a clip of a music video I was going to play in a minute that it looked like you had just posted. So I wanted people to see that. But go ahead, Maurice. I'm sorry.
One of the reasons why I think the FBI had visited you was to basically see who was going to squeal and fold so they could get as many prosecutions as they can. Because, I mean, part of their investigation tactics while they're doing this is to get a lot of information from people who willingly give it up. And when they came to you and they're like, all right, he's not going to fold. So they move on to the next one. And then, they get to Joe Schmo down the street who just folds over like a pancake and gives up any kind of information that he can in order to, save his skin. So that's what I think that's how a lot of that investigation worked, was just word of mouth. And they were trying to pit people against each other and destroy what the entire MAGA movement was and paint it as this dark force.
Well, I mean, the thing with that is the left already didn't like MAGA. So, I mean, painting MAGA as evil to me wasn't really a strong goal of theirs. They didn't have, that's not nothing you have to do. The left already thinks, they already thought MAGA was a bunch of white supremacist evil people. Like I said, I think it was more so to you know, to bully the mega crowd of people. You know what I'm saying? Because people, even still to this day, people are scared to say something like positive about J6. They're either copping pleas or they're trying to, obfuscate the question. You know, it's like nobody's like clearly speaking on it. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody is scared of that topic. It's like a boogeyman topic, and that I feel like that was the play to make it a boogeyman topic.
Yeah.
And you know, it is what it is. Like even in my position now, that's still one of like the funnest things.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I really wish that I could have seen it. I mean, I could have been there. I watched it on a prison TV inside of a prison cell. Watched it. That's how I seen it. So, but I was cheering it on. I'm not gonna lie. I was cheering it on. I already knew kind of how it was gonna end up. I knew because the left has this thing about telegraphing their punches. They lay their narratives first and they tell you what they're gonna do, and then later on they do it. That's why all this rhetoric you hear from Maxine Waters about us going in the hills and training to overthrow democracy and re-education camps and deplorables and who we are is telling me, like, I don't know what they got planned, but they're obviously painting us in a certain light. That way later on when they act on it, they're going to say, see, I told you so.
Oh, of course. I'm glad you used the phrase telegraphing punches. That's how I know you know about fighting.
Well, listen, before we get into the next part of it, I want people to see you in action, brother. Listen, look at this video, guys. Look, I want you to see that. The first thing I saw from him was something that Maurice had shown me a song called Salvation. And then I just went on kind of this rabbit hole listening to everything. Obviously, I listened to the Let's Go Brandon song, but yeah, look at this one.
It's gonna be a crime scene.
Slaying demons, it's a crime scene. Walking in the light, I'm like a high beam. I know you're serving money like it's the right king. I'm on the narrow way, I'm with the Christ team. Like, who you serving? You be swerving on both sides, not a true conversion. No, we truly working. Telling them to repent, be a newer person. After that, they be through with service. They don't want to me, but I tell them to these virtues, cause it's sure say to be perfect. To be renewed is worth it. Can't you see, look how Satan confused the churches. Is it truly worship? Stepping on these demons, in and out of season, I'm just here to serve. I just want to please them. Get up in the word so you know the meaning. Don't get what you heard. I'm free as a bird. You think I'm a swear? You have the will. Y'all be in the church, but not in the word. So you put them first. But are you for real? Yeah.
Listen, I don't know how many people are true like metaphor fans and bars, and I'm a writer. I catch every little piece of that exactly how you said it, and it's amazing to me. I love that whole wordplay thing.
Yeah, that verse was more focused on that verse. I was more focused on like doing like cool like wordplay. A lot of people may have missed it that don't know about rap, but like lyrically, that verse was more focused on like cool, unique wordplay. Like that's how I started off the whole, thing. I'm glad you caught it though. That's cool.
You had words in the middle of similes that connected two different things, and if you go back and listen this way and this way, it meant.
Yeah. I love it. Listen, I'm like a lyrical rap nerd too, so I love when other people catch stuff like that.
I mean, listen, I grew up listening to like DOS Effects and EPMD and all the that type of stuff. Everybody remembers like the old fast rappers back when it was popular in the beginning, like when Buck used to do it with Leaders of the New School, and oh man, I miss them days. But they're, hopefully that metaphors and that kind of and bars are making a comeback, because I'm tired of whatever they're doing right now. It's not, I don't like it at all.
Yeah, it's mainly mumble rap. The one thing about rap though is it is very diverse. So there's a group of people that all they listen to is like the boom bap hip hop type stuff. Now there's a lot of new artists coming out like that. And then you got people that want to hear nothingness, mumble rap, bumble rap, and I guess they can get their fix if they wanted to.
It doesn't have, there's no bars, there's no punchlines, there's no, all the things I looked for in rap, that big punchline at the end, it's not there. It's just
because you gotta think about these people on drugs when they make these songs nowadays. So nobody's like,
Well, they tell you they are right in the song.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's right in the lyrics of the song. So, Maurice, I want to jump into some clips that we were gathering earlier for with Vody Bakum and things like this, because I'm going to get into more of the cultural thing. And I want Osigah, before we do that, to kind of talk about his role in the First Step Act. This is a big deal, guys. I mean, I don't know. Listen, my audience knows these people are studied. They know the First Step Act is huge, and this is how Osigah got introduced to me in Detroit, and we got to sit down and talk. And does he? You guys are best friends. Does he play down his role like a lot? Like, I could tell he don't like to put himself up. He's a very humble person. Am I wrong in that? Like, I hear him tell the story, and I'm like, man, you're trying to make it like you didn't have a lot. You're nobody, and then like, come on, give yourself credit.
I feel like Osigah more chill. I think he because he does a lot behind the scenes. Like, people don't know, me and Osigah were one of the first people, and him before me, one of the first people that helped Candace Owens' Brexit program. You know what I'm saying? Osigah has helped a lot of people with business because Osigah is younger than me and runs his own business. So he does a lot behind the scenes, even with the campaign. He does a lot behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know.
Well, we got a platform for him. We already talked about it, and I'm gonna give him space on PPN to do his show, and definitely we're gonna help you get there. So, Osigah, please tell us about the First Step Act and
how it
began and what the goal was.
Yeah, so basically, the First Step Act is, in short, it's a prison reform bill that was helped push by a lot of even bipartisan help, not just conservatives, and signed into law by President Trump himself. So what got me into it, and also what got me into conservative movement, is basically I saw, like, it's a very long story, but in short, I saw different people gaining on social media, gaining support for President Trump, and I found it unusual. I reached out to them, and I also I had a lot of friends in the past who have gone to prison, like that I've gone to school with, grown up with, and I told them my story as a businessman, and it kind of got me into the conservative movement because because I focus more on the economy and things like that, right? I'm for like low taxes, financial freedom,
Yes, sir.
and just being reasonable in life, right? And a lot of things I was against, like, for example, the $15, $20 minimum wage that a lot of people are even still pushing to this day.
Why?
Oh, that's a whole nother
Can't say
episode.
that.
But
You can't say that and not say why.
That's a whole nother episode. But in short, basically, pretty much, I felt that it hurts a lot. It hurts a lot of businesses because you're raising the highest expense to any business, which is payroll, right? And ironically, the people are for that. The only people that can afford it is like Walmart, Amazon, things like that. So they want $15, 20 minimum wage because it basically hurts the common man or the next person who's trying to start a business, which is usually minority owned businesses, because everybody says they're so supportive of, like, let's say, black owned businesses. But if you tell somebody that they have to, they can't pay less for, like, let's say, help, how can they grow as a business? How can they beat out the big guys who are already quote unquote white owned, right? Or big time corporations? And then we're talking about taxes, which is a whole nother thing. But those are the things that pushed me a lot to conservatism along with my faith. But fast forward to prison reform. It was basically an opportunity that organization that I'm still with today, Turning Point USA, they were mentioning that they were lobbying for this act, and they had heard my story because I was mentioning it to a few of my friends from a few of my friend group that Bryson is also a part of, and they were like, "Oh, well, you have experience in this because you have certain friends that are in the system." And certain even like business associates, like my business mentor, he had went away for his taxes, and that's another thing that a lot of people don't understand how to go about paying your taxes when you own a business and you're making a substantial
trouble.
amount of money for the first time. Very
Yep,
important.
trouble.
Yeah.
You get in
And
trouble.
so,
I know I did. I first time that
oh yeah, yeah.
I just figured they took that money and 3 quarters go by
Oh,
and
yeah,
I haven't
for
paid
sure.
and compound interest. Yeah.
For sure.
But these are the things that we're
For
not
sure.
taught. We don't get taught these
Yeah.
things in school. We're taught to work for other people. We're taught to be someone. Yeah, we're not taught to go out and get our own and do our own and become the guy. We're taught how to work for the guy. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, very much agreed. And so pretty much I did my homework about the proposed bill, and I read through it and I liked what it stood for. It stood for, basically a second chance when you got out. And it wasn't just like any other program. Like, for example, a lot of people mention, a lot of liberals, they mentioned Barack Obama also had a similar thing, but his didn't also focus on bringing them back and getting them jobs after when you're released, as far as that. So basically, the details of the program is a prison reform, as in nonviolent crimes. So let's say you were incarcerated and you fell under that category, that what you're incarcerated for was nonviolent. You could have a chance to get out early. But not only that, we didn't just release you out into the world and say go figure it out yourself. And if you don't get it right, you miss your parole, you're back in. Raising the recidivist
When you have to
rate.
do your entire
What it did was, yeah.
People don't realize that probation and parole stuff, in a lot of cases, people when I did my time, we talked about this, and I completed Hope for Prisoners. When I got out, the guy who runs it was pardoned by Trump, John Ponder. Everybody remembers John on the stage next to Angie when he did that thing, and it was because of him because of that program that I have the life that I have today, and that I was able to get out. And I'm okay with saying that I make a pretty good living. I'm in the 6-figure range, and it was all because of that program, all because of that Trump back program that stopped recidivism, like 0.5% instead of the 80 that it's usually at. So yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem. So I hear like similar stories to that. So pretty much what's unique and great about this program, that it actually makes sure that not just you having a job, which they do also make sure you have a job, and not only that, they even helped you have transportation to that job for a year, back and forth, which is also helpful. But it made sure you had your ID coming out of prison, your ID ready, and you were just ready to work. So it gave you a great stepping stone to not return, which was the most important part about that initiative. So I basically I helped prep the lobbyists that were there at DC, trying to convince lawmakers. And in short, it went from the Senate. The Senate passed it. I remember I didn't think too much of it at the time. I remember I saw that the Senate passing it, and they got through to people like Ted Cruz and a lot of others. And then the next step, President Trump was signing it into office. And then from that, around February, I forgot the year, but it's a couple years ago, probably going on 4 or 5 years ago or whatnot.
It was before
February,
because I got out on February 14th, so it was before.
Got you.
That's the only reference I can give you.
Yeah, absolutely. We then I was invited to the White House with many others. And I was actually surprised, because people were telling me to check my email, and I checked it, and it was in the spam. So I went, and that's where I first met Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, Brandon Tatum, a lot of different other conservative, very important people in the conservative movement, and the rest is history as far as that.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things about the way you described this and why it got pushed through, as opposed to and why you being conservative makes a difference here, is because you looked for the problem solution and then you offered solutions, as opposed to what I see a lot on the left, which is just like prison reform is what they shout a lot, or they, in order to fix crime in places like San Francisco, they're like, well, as long as you steal less than $950, then we'll let it go, and it won't be a crime anymore. So that's how they lower crime. What you were doing was you were actually reaching out and providing solutions to people who were in a bad spot, were nonviolent criminals, and actually help provide a solution to turn their life around and to make not only the country better, but the people in it who are going to make the country better.
Yeah, teach a man a fish instead of giving him one. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, and that's what I like about conservative movement is very solution based, or just being a conservative in general. And it's bigger than the Republican Party or Democrat. It's more of like a mindset, a way of life. Like it just comes down to you think before you do, right? Just like survival, right? Like just in life, like you wouldn't jump off a building, or you wouldn't do something that's too risky, or you wouldn't just be supportive of something unless you knew what you were supporting, or of course you wouldn't eat something that you didn't know what it was. It was, you never know it's poisonous or whatnot. Just life in general. And like the thing is, on the liberal side, it's almost the opposite of that. You're quick to jump on what's popular or what's new. You're quick to say, "Oh, I can reinvent the wheel." As a conservative, you have respect for the past and history, because the test of time, it's very powerful, and a lot of people take it for granted. All the inventions that we have today, they had to stand the test of time. Was, oh, that won't work, this will work, and that comes into society. And when you get into a constant behavior of wanting to defy as far as society or way of life, like let's say a family structure, and it's not bad to defy it. You just have to back it up with a solution and why this is wrong. Like even right now, liberalism is becoming the norm, and we go against it, but we have our opinions, our facts, to back it up why we're going against it. It's just a simple mindset as far as when it comes to conservatism, as far as what it comes down to with me. But what were you saying, Bryson?
I was about to say, you're describing conservatism by definition. That is not the conservatism I feel like most people that call themselves conservatives now subscribe to. I feel like what most conservatives subscribe to now is just liberalism, just 10 years behind the Democrats. So if the Democrats are leftists today, I mean, I'm just being frank.
Listen, I said that we should stop calling them liberals. We should stop calling the leftists liberals, because they're not. How many times have I said that, Maurice? They don't believe in the First Amendment. They don't believe in free speech. They all Marxists, fascists. They're not liberals. They're leftists.
They're more extreme liberals. But Obama was more conservative than, no disrespect, even Trump. Socially, Obama was more conservative than Trump during his first term. So I wish we could get back to the conservatism that Osigah was describing, but unfortunately, that's for actual conservatives like myself and you. You know what I'm saying? That's not the current state of modern conservatism. Modern conservatism is just 10 years behind the Democrats.
I've always been incredibly hesitant to subscribe to any kind of party or to call myself a conservative in that way, even though I get labeled all those things and way more. I mean, I'm sure you do too. But
I like your list. Go down your list of the things that people have called you. I have some pretty favorite ones.
Today?
Yeah.
Today.
In general.
Oh, okay. Well, the favorite one that I was called was Uncle Tonto. Because I get called a race traitor, but instead of them saying Uncle Tom, I got called an Uncle Tonto, and that was kind of creative enough to where I was like, all right, that's kind of funny. It's terrible, but it's funny. I got called a race traitor today, and that my ancestors are ashamed of me, and this actually might be a good segue into the tweet that I had. That, and I'm kind of curious to see what.
You want to do that before we go to sponsor or after?
We're at 40 minutes. We should probably go to the sponsor.
Yeah, no doubt, huh? So we'll be right back, guys.
Born in the coastal plains of South Texas, Smoking Gun Coffee is founded by combat veterans that know exactly what a cup of coffee needs to taste like. Run by father and son, each coffee bean is perfected, roasted at 500 degrees, and cooled with a Gulf Coast breeze. Smoking Gun Coffee hand makes and bags each ounce of coffee for maximum customer satisfaction. With every purchase, 10% goes back to organizations that help veterans and local communities. That's Texas made, one bag at a time. To find out more, go to www.smokingguncoffee.com.
And guys, listen, go to smokingguncoffee.com. And if you go there and you click the coffee club, you see they made this slick bag with the Patriots Prayer and the dark roast right there. You get the coffee club, $39 a month, 4 bags of coffee per month. You're going to help out veterans causes. You're going to help out the show. And it's great coffee. It's great coffee. And the entire bunch of shows that are on PPN are all there. And they all have their own bags. So if it's not mine and Mauritius, you like 2 guys, 1 coup, all those guys, they're all there. These guys are amazing. I love Milam and the whole company over at Smoking Gun Coffee. You definitely got to check them out. But go ahead. So your tweet, it kind of blew up crazy.
Yeah, so I feel like I have to address this. I've been responding to it quite a bit, but I've kind of come to the understanding that there's so many people out there that refuse to acknowledge reality or acknowledge like blatant and obvious truths, right? So I made a tweet the other night, and it was like 1 a.m. right before I went to bed, and I had just noticed that this guy kept popping up on my feed, and it was one of Mr. Beast's friends. I think his name is Chris, and I saw that one of Mr. Beast's other friends was now reading the Bible daily on TikTok. So I had just made a post comparing the two. And I said, the Chris, the guy who transitioned, I said one abandoned his son and his wife so he could pursue his dream of dressing up like a woman and an anime character. And the other decided to read the Bible, read Bible verses daily on TikTok. Guess which one receives more hate? And there's quite a few mixed answers on there.
You do now. That's the truth of it. You do now. For asking the question.
Well, yeah. I'm sure that, I mean, if Bryson had said something like this as well, it'd be the same thing. It kind of all gets directed to you. Like I was the one saying something absolutely ridiculous and basically what I wanted to criticize more than him pretending to be a woman is the fact that he had left his wife and his kid to pursue that. Like, that's not a noble thing to do in any way, shape, or form. And so I called him a deadbeat dad, and everybody had basically responded by saying, even Mr. Beast says that Ava's still around in her daughter's life. And I'm like, okay, well, he's a deadbeat dad, because if you believe that Chris actually transitioned, then you believe he's a woman, and then you believe that he's not a dad. He can't be a father. So he's a deadbeat dad. He left. He abandoned his kids. And I mean, it's really difficult to kind of grasp the amount of insanity, because generally my experience on Twitter has been fairly good. Surprisingly, I know that not a lot of people will say that, but I don't get a lot of that hate. I try to be generally optimistic, but also call out obvious truths and I mean something like this, even to where if you're a man, if you were born a man, you're going to be a man for the rest of your life. It seems incredibly simple to grasp, but just saying something like that is insanely controversial now. And there's just so many people to this day that refuse in any way, shape, or form to be able to acknowledge reality. Or if you bring up God, and like I said, I was comparing him to Chandler reading the Bible, and everybody said they love Chandler, but I have probably 1,000 comments dogging on Christianity in general, and especially the fact that me being a Native American, that I'm using the religion that, this is their words, not mine. Basically, to sum up the tweets, was that I'm using the religion of the oppressors who genocided my people. And
Oh
so
my
it's
God.
just it's really fascinating. I know, Bryson, I know that you have had a lot of
I gotta get his take.
Listen, I'm the one person on Twitter that literally everybody hates. So, I think people all the
We
time.
love you.
And yeah, like people love me too. But like all sides, there's like a large group of all sides that hate me. So when you get responses like this, honestly, the fact that you've had a positive time on Twitter, I think Elon Musk ruined Twitter, if I'm being honest with you.
Really?
Because because the way the algorithm works is very sensitive, and it's easy to drive people into like cults. And I feel like everybody is in some type of cult on Twitter, and everybody runs in packs on Twitter, and it just makes Twitter like a cesspool. Like I know people that just can't be on Twitter. Like my friend Tyson James, who I rap with, he hates Twitter. He every time he goes on there, there's a video of somebody getting killed, or there's a video of like there's some type of propaganda trying to.
I get you.
They're trying to exploit your emotions on there.
Prior to Elon Musk taking it over, I think what he did was historic for other reasons, but I guess it depends on the perspective that you come at it. I don't really spend a lot of time in the timelines with all of the craziness and the murders, and I've seen it. I've seen it when you go through. I really don't spend that much time scrolling through it like that. I spend more time being a content creator than someone taking it in. But
it's more than just the timeline. It's what that timeline does to the psyche of the people on the app. Like, so I'm on every app every day. I follow on every app, and social media is kind of like a job to drive people to my music. Twitter is by far the stupidest app. Like people are dumb. Like people can't. They can't read basic sentences. They respond to stuff that the person didn't say nonstop because it's the human psyche. You feel people take what you say and they try to break it down in a way they can respond to rather than just responding to what you said.
Right. They want no matter what you say for the answer to be what they want it to be.
What they want.
They make a bunch of logic leaps in order to make it.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, it doesn't happen this often in this like kind of like even on like TikTok, right? TikTok is terrible, but on TikTok, like even different races of people, they laugh at it. Like everybody's laughing about racial jokes. You know what I'm saying? So I make a racial joke.
I can't get on TikTok for more than a minute. I get booted off TikTok as soon as I get on it almost. But every time that I'm on it for any period of time, I do end up with that #1 spot. I got it twice when we were in Detroit.
Yeah, and, no. TikTok is bad if you bring up the LGBT and things of that nature. But that's not like people. That's their algorithm just automatically pinging you. But like on Twitter, if somebody make a racial joke on either side, everybody's upset, sensitive, white, black. It's like the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like I think paying people to tweet it ruined Twitter because nobody is like, I've been on Twitter since it existed, literally. And
I've only been on it for the last year, maybe a little less than a year.
Twitter literally was made to be a free speech platform. A lot of people don't even understand that. If you know anybody that's been on Twitter for 10 years, Twitter was actually free speech for like
until when.
And it was fun. It was crazy. Osigah, I know you remember. It was like peak internet. Like that's peak internet. What Elon Musk doing? He's still censoring people, right? Or he's not giving reach to people that are too controversial, right? Unless it's something that he's like. And then you're paying people to tweet, which pretty much motivates people to make up lies all the time in every community. Because I'm popular within the boxing. I'm not popular, but I'm like immersed in the boxing community on Twitter. They post fake stuff all the time. Whatever gets the clicks is what they post. So when you pay people to tweet, you're incentivizing people to clickbait. You're incentivizing people to exploit emotions because that's what gets the most engagement on Twitter. And I think it just ruined like a lot of conservatives, like no disrespect, but Elijah Schaffer, I was friends with Elijah Schaffer early in the movement. The way he tweets now is not how he tweeted before you got paid to tweet. And it's just like now it's more engagement farming.
So that's the human condition, though. That's the human condition. And when you remove the guardrails, it really just amplifies the character of the individual. And if you are really that's what you are going to be. And it's like integrity. It's who you are when no one's looking. And then, of course, if you exacerbate someone who, because they always were this way, whatever they're tweeting is what it was. But I look at it more from, because it's a double-edged sword, right? Because before Elon came, it was Dorsey and There were NGOs having upwards of 50 plus meetings per week at Twitter. There were FBI agents working behind the scenes to decide what was, made popular and who was silenced. So it was going on still. I mean, but it was that?
It still happens under Elon.
It does. We have a friend, Dan Nunn, and the guy is way less controversial than we are. Way less. Would you agree with that, Maurice? That Dan Nunn is way less controversial than what we are if you've watched his shows. Dan's a pretty soft-spoken guy. He got his account suspended because he used the word kill. But
I know 4 people. I know 4 people in the last week that got their account suspended on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's in the last week. But I'm not shocked because Elon pretty much told people this. Elon has shifted away from his original claim, which is he wants Twitter to be a free speech absolutist platform. But then he changed that when he realized that you still need that ad revenue. So then he said freedom of speech don't mean freedom of reach, which yes, it does, because in the public forum, you can't just push somebody to the back because you don't like what they say. So already that's censoring people off the rip. And then it got worse and worse. And then they changed the pronouns and the transgender thing. If you attack somebody that's transgender or LGBT, now you still get suspended for that. And they updated that. Like the only difference between Twitter now and Twitter under Jack Dorsey is that Elon Musk just slicker in his approach and people can get paid to tweet. You still get censored the same.
Hold on. I called Chris probably in 100 different tweets today. And I was talking about him specifically because I was criticizing him leaving his wife and kid to go pursue that depraved dream. Are you saying that it's a matter of time until I get suspended because of that with the LGBTQ thing? Or
you never got banned on Twitter for saying that. If you follow me on Twitter under Jack Dorsey, I never got suspended once, and I stayed nobody says more homophobic and transphobic stuff than I do. The first time I ever got suspended on Twitter was when Elon took control of Twitter and I called Elton John gay. You know what I'm saying? Like, no joke. The first time I ever got suspended on Twitter was under
Elon. Called Elton John gay. You say Captain Obvious the situation and got
so to get suspended on Twitter, even under Jack Dorsey, so outside of the COVID and blah, blah, blah stuff, when it comes to LGBT, you had to say something like extra crazy to get banned, even under Jack Dorsey. So a lot of people don't remember because a lot of people weren't that active on Twitter. But Twitter has been my number one app since I've been like 22 or something. So like I remember every phase of Twitter, and I literally never got suspended under Jack Dorsey ever. You know what I'm saying? And I never changed the way I tweet. I still tweet the same exact way I tweeted under. We had
different experiences because when I came on Twitter under Dorsey, I was attacked. Like I couldn't get a word out edgewise, and I left it alone until Elon did buy it for that very reason.
But you still get shadow banned even under Elon.
We have experienced where our reach looked like something was weird going on, and that now Elon's reply to that when asked about it was that a lot of the old code that was left when he bought the software, the Twitter platform, that he's rewriting that code because he feels that the people that were there previously still have access and are doing things that he can't quite wrap his head around.
Possible, but he's capping because he literally told you freedom of speech don't mean freedom of reach. His own words out of his own mouth. He said things that are too controversial, he will hinder the reach of that post, is what he said out of his own mouth on Twitter. He tweeted this: freedom of speech doesn't, if you Google freedom of speech, freedom of reach, Elon Musk quote will come up. I think Elon Musk gave everybody the illusion. You know what I'm saying? I guess it's cool that people can get paid to tweet because I guess you can get a few extra bucks, you know what I'm saying, for going viral or whatever. But like I said, all that does is incentivizes people to just like to do the worst. The worst part of social media is being pushed to the top of what's happening on social media because of how Twitter operates. So like I know people on Twitter making like $20,000 a month, and all they do is post rage based stuff. Like I tweet the same exact way I've been tweeting since 2013.
That's actually one of the things I really wanted to say that I appreciated about you is that I don't remember when I started listening to your music, Bryson. But you've been consistent from like the first time that I heard you. And I mean, I don't know if you remember this. So, but like even when I disagree with you, I still appreciate the fact that you are consistent. I think we had a little disagreement on Twitter a couple months ago. It was about the whole demon month, or what the heck is it? The conservative calendar, that thing.
Oh, the demonic calendar. Yeah, that was demonic.
Yeah. It was a small little thing, but
disagreements happen in this life.
Yeah, but I mean, even with something like that, where you know, I'll disagree with you. There's been nothing that I've ever seen where you've truly flip-flopped on any kind of moral stance that you've taken. So, and that's rare these days.
It's cool to be stubborn when you're right, though.
It's not even about being right. It's just like I said, the Bible says this, so I'm agreeing with the Bible. I think as soon as we go outside of the Bible, then you know what I'm saying, we're leaning on our own understanding. The Bible,
exactly.
Modesty is a sin. I'm sorry. I know that sounds harsh in 2024 because everybody's naked all the time. Everybody's used to seeing people naked. But you know, in 50 years ago in this country, a two-piece bathing suit wasn't even allowed on TV.
No, Elvis. They literally took Elvis and only showed him from the chest up because of the way he used to move.
Because of the way he moved. You know, like people act like I'm so like crazy and harsh. No, this was the norm in this country. Like when our grandparents were young.
I'll give you another one. Old Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra himself was arrested when he was younger. Anybody want to take a guess for what? Sleeping with another man's wife. It used to be illegal. It used to be illegal in this country. Adultery was an actual crime, not just a sin. Now we're going to move into. I had these Bodie Bacham clips I want to play because the culture is so screwed up. And when somebody speaks real theology, actual theology, it's not received well. And Bodie Bacham is attacked all the time for telling the truth, just like what we said. Now, some time ago, we did an interview on CNN where they were talking about women preaching, and it just watch.
From Bacham, she's winning over church members, church leaders that don't even allow women to preach at the pulpit, yet she could be leading the country. What do you make of that?
Well, it's interesting. The bottom line on that is people look at this ticket and their fear is that we will have Barack Obama as our president, that we will be moved toward a socialist agenda, that we would have the most radically pro-abortion candidate ever to run for president to serve in that office. And that is an untenable position for evangelicals. And so they look at this and
that's something that, are you saying that shouldn't be overlooked? I mean, do you think that women in evangelical circles where women are not allowed to preach, let's say Palin and McCain do win, and here you have this woman that could possibly be leading the free world, and yet there's evangelicals voting for her that don't even believe that a woman should preach at the pulpit. Could this change the face of how evangelicals believe in the woman's role?
I don't think it'll change the way evangelicals believe about women's roles. I think it has sparked a discussion. And quite frankly, feminism has gained a foothold in many evangelical churches.
Do you think that's a good thing?
No, I don't. Not at all.
Why not?
Well, because we're about the gospel. The culture doesn't dictate truth. The gospel dictates truth. My job is not to be a political pundit or political activist. My job is to be a pastor and proclaim the truth of the gospel as clearly as I possibly can.
Well, wait a minute. What about the Old Testament and the prophet Deborah? I mean, she was a political leader. She was a wife. She was a mother. She was one of the biggest forces in the book of Judges. So that's the gospel right there.
She certainly was. And the fact that something happened doesn't mean that it's normative for the church. In Isaiah chapter 3, for example, one of the signs that a culture is under judgment is that women are in leadership in their nations. So Deborah was actually a sign that things were very bad in Israel, not a norm for the church.
Margaret, I'm curious to see what you think about this and what the Reverend's saying.
I think that that's a fair perspective.
Now, I'm pausing for a second. You already heard this. Now, Bodie is a beast when it comes to applying his theology, especially in debate format. Now that's what's getting ready to happen here, because she's getting ready to do something that the libs do with the Bible. There's a lot of leftists. I don't think there's such a thing as a Christian who's a liberal. I don't see how the two can ever be coexist. But that's what she tries to do, and I love how he corrects her. And watch, it's masterful.
Devotee, but I think we also need to look at Ephesians 5, which describes, it's saying that husbands are to lay down their lives for their wives, just as Jesus Christ laid down his life for the church. And in the same way, I think Todd has done an incredible job opening up the opportunity for Palin to use the gifts and the talents and the passions that she has been given in order to make a difference in her community and possibly in our nation and world on a significant political landscape and effect.
Margaret, is the Reverend sounding a little sexist, or is it just me?
I would have to say the Reverend is sounding a little questionable there, but in the sense that I believe that everyone,
I love his response.
Despite gender, has an opportunity to serve, to give, and to play a role in making a difference in their communities, in their churches, and around the world.
Reverend, this could be an exciting time. I mean, this could break through. We're becoming progressive in so many ways. We're seeing a black man possibly winning the presidency. We're seeing a woman here that's on the Republican ticket that's rousing up evangelicals possibly to think twice about the woman's role in the church. I mean, this is fascinating times.
They are fascinating times, and they're also frightening times. When you see Margaret Feinberg use Ephesians chapter 5, which clearly says that a husband is the head of the wife, in order to justify somehow with this sleight of hand that Palin's husband is laying down his life by allowing her to do that. Number one, she's playing fast and loose with the text. And secondly, she is also ignoring the fact that Palin's responsibility as a wife and mother is governed by Scripture, not by whether we feel it's progressive in our culture.
Margaret, final thought there.
Bodie, I believe that's a narrow interpretation and a boxy interpretation of the text, as well as the role of women, who in today's working families, many families in the United States need both the man and the wife in order to work outside of the home, in order to support the family, and to put that kind of burden on the family, whereby a woman must stay at home. I just don't think that translates into many working class families today.
You know, my job is not to translate into working class families. My job is to be honest with the text. And the text says in Titus chapter 2 and verse 5, a woman is to be the keeper of her home. Now, I will not violate the teaching of the text in order to somehow sound more appropriate for the culture.
I love him, man. I love him so much.
Good job scripturally. I cannot believe that woman uttered Ephesians 5 out of her mouth without mentioning that the man is the head of the woman. That was just psych. Liberals are so crazy when they try to quote the Bible. And people say it's sexist. I mean, in reality, they're saying they don't like the Bible. I don't think a woman should be president. I would never vote for a woman president ever in history of life or future. It just will never happen. And I do think a woman should be in the home, in the kitchen, making their husband sandwiches and folding his clothes.
See, here's the thing. What I don't think a lot of people understand is that it's not. Feminism has demonized women who choose to take on that role of the mother and the nurturer, where it should be respected and admonished, and women should be put on a pedestal for it. A man's role is not the same as a woman's. It's like physics. Two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time. We have a role that we play in society, in our family, in our home, in our business, in whatever organizations we belong to. We all have roles. It's harmony when everybody plays their role that makes the whole machine work. There's more peace in the home. There's more happiness in the home. You have more well-rounded children, and that translates to the way your community is as well. They know when they break the nuclear family down, the country goes with it.
Well, it's once again, and this is obvious by basic statistics. Ever since women's rights and they going into the workforce, even going into school, to be quite frank, depression rates are rising. The amount of children on these pills and meds are rising. Every negative thing that you could think of is rising because everything has to start in the home. The home, in the Bible was built that way for a specific reason. Because for one, if the mother's in the home, guess what you can do now? I mean, the kids can be in the home instead of sending them off to public schools to where they're going to be indoctrinated. And if a kid is slightly smarter than the other kids, because the public school is not set up to teach people as individuals, they teach as groups, then you're going to say that kid is bouncing off the walls and they need ADHD medication. And then that's going to jack the guy's head up. And then next thing you know, they're going to grow up and then be kind of crazy. They tried to do me like that, but my parents said, we're not doing no ADHD pills. And then, I mean, once again, it's just, that's how it starts. This is how the cycle starts. You know what I'm saying? When you leave your duty, your biblical duty as a man and woman, this is how you give your children to the world. This is how everything becomes, and it's all why. So you can have 2 cars. You wouldn't need 2 cars if the woman was in the home. Like, this is, you know, why? Because you want a house that's 3,000 square feet instead of 1,600 square feet. You know, America is like a me culture. And you know, you can't be me and be biblical at the same time.
You know, that's kind of crazy. When I had met my wife, she was working and going to school. And so she wanted to have her career. And once we started dating for a little while, I pretty much laid out what I want. I said, I want a stay-at-home wife and I want kids. And that's eventually what she started, you know, I mean, she embraced it fully. Once she realized that it's not like I want to keep you here just because I want to control everything. It's like, no, I'm going to keep you here so you can maintain the house. And I'm going to do everything in my power to support us at home and to ensure that we're in a safe place. And you're not going to have to worry about money. You're not going to have to worry about anything like that because I'm going to take care of all that. Take care of the home. And, you know, she cooks all my meals, which is incredible. I absolutely love that. And I mean, I really wanted that traditional biblical lifestyle, right? And even though, I mean, I have a checkered past like everybody, you know, I married my high school sweetheart and divorced 8 months later. And then that's when my entire life changed. And I was like, okay, I have to set a goal for my life and go and achieve it. And so, I mean, the Bible has helped me out incredibly in that way and overcoming the obstacles that have come around. And I think that you're exactly right with, if we fix the family, then we have, we're going to have a better future. But they've been attacking the family for a very, very long time.
That's the goal. And Osigah, what do you have children married? I don't remember that we spoke about that.
Not yet. Given about 2 years, you know.
It's
ladies. Wait.
That's what I'm ready to do. Hit him up. You can find him on Twitter.
As far as that. Yeah, it's just a matter of waiting about that. But I definitely agree with all those things. In fact, I think it's better, like Bryson said, America is now like a more like a me culture, which is why people, you know, suffer from getting into so much debt, suffer from just being reasonable in general, you know, like the other day, like somebody went viral just for saying that they could support a family off of 30,000, right? Or, you know, and then whereas there's people, you know, then, you know, whether it's women or men, that they think that the ideal goal is to make 100,000 or more, 6 figures or whatnot. But I do think that, you know, a man does need a woman and a woman needs a man, you know, as far as that, because you can't do it all by yourself. Like I'm sure, like you said, like you just mentioned, you said your wife, you know, she cooks your meals, which you love, right? Imagine if you had to do everything that your wife does for you, and along with, you know, your career, streaming and whatnot, you won't, you know, be able to do everything to the fullest extent because, you know, you probably be here, you know, cleaning, you know, you only have like, you know, two arms, you know what I'm saying? So that definitely helps. And as far as like, you know, raising children, right? Children need to see a, you know, a healthy household, healthy, you know, marriage. They need a great example of those things, which is a problem in this country, which is where's the absence of, you know, fathers in the home. Let's say even just the tension between the average married couple these days. as far as that. And that's just what it comes down to. I definitely agree with that. I don't want to overcomplicate it.
I think it has everything to do with trust, right? So I just said
absolutely.
in the comments, someone said, sadly, Silver Bell said, sadly, a lot of men are not like that today. So everybody's waiting for the next. You guys do it first. If you do it first, I'll do it. And then if he doesn't, no, and then he's like, well, if you do it first, I'll do it. So it's that trust. No one's stepping out in faith and just saying, I'm going to love my wife the way God told me to. And I'm going to trust her to do the same for me so that we're building each other up. Everybody in this, I think in our culture thinks if I give, they won't. So I'm not going to do it until they do.
But let's talk about why that is, right? And I think the root of everything does go back to the men because our job is to lead. But look what happened to the culture. And, I know this is going to sound offensive, but men and women are different. Even if you're an atheist, scientifically, our brains work different. Like I'm talking about, quite literally. And the easiest person to manipulate is the woman. Before you'll manipulate the woman before you manipulate the man.
Because of the emotion.
The reason we're in this space in our society is because what happened? Women got a hold to the, I want to be a career woman. I don't really need a man. I can do things on our own. That mindset played every race of people everywhere. And when that happens, now you're thinking, I don't need a man. Now they offer you something to replace the man. Maybe it's that career can replace the man. Maybe it's government assistance programs like full-scale welfare to replace the man.
Like what LBJ did with the Great Society.
Yep. So, when things like that happen, the men start getting angry at it instead of leading and saying, no, this is what we're doing. Because in reality, women want men and men want women. But instead of leading like as men supposed to do, men got sort of bitter at that notion, which is understandable when you see women saying they don't need you, they got their own jobs, and then you like, well, bump it down, I'm just gonna use you for for sexual purposes and whatever. So men need to get back to leading, even though our people nowadays are just so brainwashed. Like men nowadays are so brainwashed and so stuck in the now and modern things that they can't even comprehend traditional values and biblical values. So I don't know how we get back to it, but the easiest way to, push it there is for people to open their mouths.
Yeah.
Well, you do it in a really creative way as well by making it into music and making it, I guess, relatable to how a lot of people feel, because you have a tendency to put your thumb on the pulse of the culture and at least in the direction that people are looking to go right now, because I think there are a lot of lost people, including a lot of lost women. It kind of makes you wonder why in the Garden of Eden, Eve was approached and convinced to, and it wasn't Adam. So
you went there.
But it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Who did the serpent? Who did the serpent go to? But then the serpent's so smart that he know most men, our weakness is women. So he went to the woman first, convinced the woman, and got the woman to convince the man. That's 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 how it went. I mean, in my music,
Samson.
Yes, like my music is meant to be biblical, and it's meant to, it's meant to provoke conviction. You know what I'm saying? People say my music is too harsh. But I think that's because they're used to the Jesus is my boyfriend Christian music, oh, I love Jesus, all that, which is cool.
Yeah.
There's a place and a time for it. But if you're here's the thing about life: if you never feel convicted, you're never gonna evolve.
And that's why they hated Jesus when he was there. Jesus convicted people. He's preached the entire gospel. Paul warned us about people who preach the itching ear, and then now the modern Christian movement doesn't allow us to call preachers out because the church will tell us you're dividing the body of Christ. Well, I can tell you just as soon as me looking at you right here, Joel Osteen, I think is a false apostate religion. What he preaches is just wrong. He is a Tony Robbins self-help moderator that gets up there and picks up the Bible for the first 10 seconds of his sermon and then says some pledge to it and then puts it down and then goes on some motivational speech and that has nothing to do with biblical teaching whatsoever. And he never mentions the word hell because he says that that's not his thing. That's not what God called him or what he feels. Well, Jesus warned, you're supposed to preach the whole gospel, the entire gospel.
Jesus' main teaching, which he adopted from John, was repent, for the kingdom is at hand. He said it after John got his head chopped off for calling out people. Jesus said, you know what, from now forward, what we teach is repent, for the kingdom is at hand. Mm-hmm. And you know what I'm saying? If you're not, listen, there's a space in time for everything, but if you're not preaching repentance, you're not preaching at all.
And that's what I told the UMC church when they told me they had gay people teaching the Sunday school to the little kids. And they told me, when I told them, they said, who are you to judge? I said, well, Corinthians 5:12 said that,
oh my gosh,
judge my brother. I'm supposed to judge my brother.
I've gotten probably 1,000 comments today saying that will throw that line. It is one of the most common lines used, saying that, and just saying that, well, you're a Christian. If you were a good Christian, you're not supposed to judge others. Live and let live. And I'm like, that is not.
Let me give you all an example. John was baptizing in the river. The king was coming past on the outskirts of where he was baptizing. Inside the carriage where the king was the king's brother's wife. John didn't say, that's none of my business. I'm just going to keep baptizing people. No, he didn't. He said, you're wrong. You're sinning. You married your brother's wife in front of everyone. Put him on blast. When Peter and them were preaching the gospel, they got pulled in front of the Sanhedrin. They got whooped for doing it. And they went right back out and did it again because they said, we're going to obey God's law or man's law. And Paul even said that we were to judge. He said that, he said that essentially, he said, you're supposed to lovingly correct your brother, but there is a formula for it in the church that's not practiced in any church. If you go to a church that practices this, please tell me what church it is. But we're supposed to bring a brother in front of first we go to him privately and say, man, hey, you're cheating on your wife, you're doing whatever it is. And then if the brother doesn't listen, we're supposed to bring him in front of the congregation. If he still don't listen, we shun him. Now, today, we just say everybody's sinners, so it's okay.
Well, here's the thing. Honestly, and you're talking about, you got that from Matthew, but that's if somebody personally sins against you. If somebody is sinning publicly, and you don't know them personally, you still are supposed to rebuke them publicly, which is what John the Baptist did. But what's most funny about the thou shalt not judge thing is something that's globally accepted as truth when it's really just out of context. They get it from Matthew 7, and you literally would have to use whiteout and delete every verse in Matthew 7 to get the conclusion that you're coming to. The problem is we're translating something from a different language, which is Greek in this case, and we're translating it, trying to translate it word for word as best we can into English. So you can't just take a half a sentence and say, this is what it means. No, you can't do that. It says, judge not, or you shall be judged in the same way. The reason Jesus said that is because you can't judge as a hypocrite. Because if you keep reading,
right,
he says, take the plank out of your own eye, then you can righteously judge your brother. He's just saying, don't judge as a hypocrite. If you keep reading Matthew 7, it's telling you to judge by the fruit. Literally, yes. I mean, Jesus verbatim says this, but this is not new. Love thy neighbor comes from Leviticus 19. And if people go read what love thy neighbor means, part of it is to judge your neighbor fairly. So it's not that you shouldn't judge, it's that you can't make up your own judgment. You have to judge righteously and fairly and not as a hypocrite. So the Bible gives you how to judge that way. Anything outside of that is you judging unfair. So, I mean, it's very simple, but most Christians believe the nonsense.
That is true. And yeah, I would have to agree with that completely. If you're on a down low and you're out here preaching that somebody shouldn't be gay, then everything that you said should happen to that person.
Happen to you.
It's going to happen to you.
Simple. That's what Jesus is saying. You're judged the same way you judge, especially if you got a plank in your eyes, you're judging. All people got to do is keep reading past And by the way, the funniest thing is the thou shalt not judge is not even the full first verse. It's literally half of Matthew 7 verse 1. Half of it. Like, people don't even give you the full verse. It's like, this is some crazy work, bro. Crazy work.
Cherry picking. Yeah. But that's the left. That's who they are. They're a cherry picking bunch that they hate God. They hate God.
I got a lot of that from people who claim to be Christians as well. They're like, well, I'm a good Christian, and it's like, no, you're supposed to be able to help correct your society. That's like, it's that same thing as well, how does that affect you? You don't even know these people. How does it affect you? And it's like, I don't have time to sit here and explain every reason how an influencer with millions of followers believing that he's a woman and encouraging others, and how good it feels to live your best life and be free. All the crap that they say and the reasons why. I mean, in Washington State alone, they passed a bill a couple of years ago. It's Washington State Bill, Senate Bill 5599, where it basically legalizes minors to make the decision on their own to run away and go get gender affirming care. I think it's from age 12, with or without parental consent. They can go get care. And actually, this actually affects the entire country too, because they can be brought in from a separate state and receive the care as well. And the state has no obligation to tell parents where the kids are at or how long they're going to be gone for. It's completely legal in Washington State.
And AB 665 in California is the same way. They're kidnapping bills.
Washington State.
Legal kidnapping.
I'm going to tell y'all this. No disrespect if you born and raised in Washington. My friend Tyson James lives there. I think if there is if you had to choose a representation in the United States of America to be hell, I think it'd probably be Washington State. And I've been to almost every state in this country. And I think Washington State, between Seattle, and not even Seattle, the other place is worse. What's the place that's close to Ferndale? I forgot what it's called. It's not Seattle though. It's a place way worse than Seattle to me. But I think Washington, the state of Washington, would be definitely hell on earth.
I kind of feel that. I live there. I grew up here. So
more than San Francisco? More than San Francisco?
I've been to San Francisco. Yes.
Dude, it's in the cities, it is extremely bad. I mean, even so, I work around Tacoma, Washington, which is, it's just south of Seattle roughly. And the amount of homeless people that have, I mean, it's terrible just driving by every single day. And I mean, they've actually started working their way pretty far south as well. And they're camping out in the woods. I mean, we probably have thousands and thousands of people that are just hanging out in the woods. So it's, you can't just like stop on the side of the road and be like, hey, let's go check out this river, a nice spot, because there's always going to be homeless people there that are going to be on drugs. And so, yeah, I agree. There's so many things wrong with this state.
Bellingham. Bellingham is the other city.
Okay.
I don't know if I've ever heard of that one.
Bro. My wife is from Osigah, which is kind of near Bellingham, right? And when we first met, it was 2016, right before Trump got elected. And when she first came down, she was not interested in politics at all, and she was blown away. She's like, "You're a Trump supporter?" Like, because all she had heard is that Trump supporters are evil, racist, bigot, hateful people. And it was like probably a week or two after we had met, but she was just so blown away. And eventually I had to kind of win her family over to some extent. But so they're like from that area up there. And there's a lot of bougie folk up there that I do not fit in with. So,
bro, listen to me. So when I go to Washington, I always go to Seattle because clearly it's more expensive to go to the Bellingham airport. You know what I'm saying? But when I go to Seattle, it's so disgusting. Like, I'm just ready to leave. But we always have to go to Bellingham because Bellingham is 15 minutes away from our France Day, and that's where everything is. And like literally every time we go there, everybody looks like they're on the brink of committing suicide. The way they dress. They're all like, you can't find a regular girl or a regular guy. They all dress like transgenders. It's the most weird, it is the most like weirdest place. Seattle is super bad too. But I guess I don't know if Bellingham just like lets people, so everybody's just weird. It's something in the water in Washington. That's what I will say. It's something in the water.
RFK did this thing where he was talking about the fact that when atrazine is applied to certain animals or frogs, I believe he said that the frog literally changes its gender and the eggs that it lays are viable. And he said this is in our groundwater and it seeped into the drinking water that we come out of.
That
our
was a
farm.
real study. Alex Jones wasn't just
it came off of NIH. It came out the NIH did the study. It is absolutely a real study. But I wanted not to gloss over something that I didn't know that you brought up earlier. You were with Enrique from the Proud Boys 22 years for no damn apparent reason. Just they put this man away because the rumor, right? Because I don't know this to be substantiated fact or not. But the rumor is that the FBI came to him and basically wanted him to say bad things about Trump, and he wouldn't do it.
No, the reason he's in prison because they caught him in D.C. and they claimed that he was orchestrating all of these things. So they claim Enrique was the person orchestrating things that he wasn't even there for. Like Enrique wasn't even there January 6th because
he was in Baltimore. And they used all the text messages that he had sent, and I can't remember the app. I think it's called was it Getter, or there was another app that he was posting on at the time. So like one of the right-wing social media apps, and he basically said, we're never going to leave and things like that. And they used that to say that he was this master orchestrator of this entire attack, and they put him away for 22 years, which is
like what they did to Enrique is actually so jacked up. And I hope he gets justice for that, because like when you read his case, it makes no sense. They're literally blaming him for something and using unrelated things to blame him for it. Yep. And they gave him 22. You got to understand, he didn't kill nobody. Like they gave him 20 years for claiming he orchestrated something. Like I'm telling y'all, this is the craziest stuff, bro.
Well, what
they screwed.
Boys is that they're a Christian group that are just conservative.
I wouldn't call them a Christian group, but yeah.
I mean, the ones that I met out here in Vegas, have Bible studies.
Loosely.
Yeah. I'm friends with Proud Boys. I feel like I was. Never mind. Let me not say that on YouTube. Shout out to the PBs, man.
Yeah, they were spreading rumors about Enrique too. That he was actually like a plant and things like that.
They was talking about because before I think he cooperated with the FBI to do something to get less time on something. And people say that's something that happened 15, 20 years ago. So they said that means he's a plant now. Yeah. It didn't make sense. It's just like
it was all weird.
They screwed him over almost as bad as they did Derek Chauvin.
Oh yeah. Now I think it's worse. Enrique got screwed over worse. Because I think with Derek Chauvin, you can, with the personal autopsy
relationship
they did, the personal autopsy that said he died from strangulation. Like if you use that autopsy as valid, you can make the argument in court that he was involved in George Floyd, whatever the case may be. But like Enrique didn't do anything.
That's true. He purposely stayed away for that reason.
Literally stayed away to not get in trouble. He got in trouble anyway. It's the craziest.
We all definitely, upon Trump being sworn into office, got to make that case to this man that this guy needs to be let out. He needs amnesty immediately. He should have never spent a single day in prison. And that is the worst thing you can do to somebody, is take their freedom from them for no reason at all. Remember, Kamala Harris did this to a man for 20 years and held on to the evidence that would have exonerated him and kept this man in prison for 20 years. And that to me, you can't do a worse thing. As someone who's been there, there's not a worse thing that exists. If you do that knowingly to somebody, you should switch places.
That political prisoner, like Enrique, is probably actually the biggest political prisoner we have, but it's the least talked about. And I think it's because of that little FBI rumor thing. I think a lot of people just brush it off, but it's like, I don't understand how you using him working for the FBI 20 years ago to say that he's in on him getting 22 years in prison. Like, it's just like, it's like he got 2 years in prison for trying to stay away from what he's in prison for. Like, it's the craziest. It's like somebody going to rob a bank, and I'm like, nah, I'm staying home. And then me getting arrested for plotting to rob a bank. It's like, what? I purposely didn't do this.
Yeah.
Hey, Bryson. Before we get out of here, because I actually got to get going here in just a minute. But you should put me in touch with Tyson, because if he I didn't know that he lived in Washington State, but he should.
Yeah, Ferndale.
Oh, okay. How about that?
Ferndale, Washington. Yeah. I can get you in touch with that. That's literally like my brother from another mother. Literally.
Yeah. That's cool.
So yeah.
I'll let him borrow my truck for one of his videos.
He always takes stuff for videos for the show. Tyson loved the videos.
Yeah.
So I never did this before, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna ask you something that I didn't ask Jam Wayne when he came on. I didn't ask anybody else, but I'm gonna ask you. Can you spit a verse from Salvation for us?
What's my lyrics from Salvation?
That's an old song.
People mad I don't subscribe to their theology. This is what happens when people interpret it privately, adding to the scripture, then they overly explain. Then they say God is not a concept we can attain. Okay, if that's the case, stop explaining it then, boy. And if someone disagrees, stop complaining then, boy. Early manuscripts different, so why they change it then, boy? And what's your denomination? What you claim it then, boy? I messed up the lyrics a little bit. I don't know about
there it is. Hey, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. And thank both of you for taking the time to do this. It means a lot. We're building a platform, and we want the demographic to understand that culture is not color. It's culture. And you two are my brothers. And I'm going to see you when we leave this life and we get to the next one. And yes, that's what it really boils down to. So, man, this movement is strong, and we need all the soldiers to help build us up. All our Christian warriors are out here telling the truth, holding the line, and pushing for the values that it seems that the people that should be doing, they're not. They're being quiet. And it's bad when you can say the church is part of the problem. So we need a new church. We need people to step out that that keep real theology. And that's why when I heard, Maurice introduced me to your music, but when I heard it, I was like, yes, this is home. This is what I say. I felt it. I felt when I heard those lyrics that you just said, right? I felt it. I felt it because that's exactly how I am. And everybody tells me exactly what they tell you.
Yeah.
I'm too harsh, too judgmental, intolerant. Yeah. I've been called all of those things. Somebody told me at my Christmas party last year after watching the podcast, we like advocates and not activists. I said, really, what's the difference? Just what you do.
One of the reasons I started speaking out was it was during the 2020 lockdowns, and I noticed that a lot of men that I really respected weren't acting like what I thought men should act like. They folded almost immediately to the mandates. They bent the knee, and that scared the shit out of me because I thought there were so many people, so many men that I really truly looked up to that just folded immediately, and it scared the shit out of me. And I was like, there's no way that we will survive as a country if all of these men are just bending the knee. So I decided to start speaking out. And I mean, I was listening to your music then, so I mean, I'm sure it had some influence to actually, I mean, it did. It's been, I mean, I guess it's been a couple of years now, but it's been a good journey so far, and I hope that I can inspire, and I hope you continue to inspire many more men to stand up and actually have conviction what they say, and to read the Bible.
Thank you. I mean, and with the mandates, that showed me all I needed to see too, because a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, when a plane say you have to wear a mask, nobody is not about to lose no money. You know what I'm saying? To not go to an event, they have to fly. I I think the number ended up being I ended up losing basically $50,000 because I refused to get on planes. I drove everywhere. I literally drove to a concert. I had a concert in Idaho, and I drove because I said I'm not wearing a mask. Period. I took it seriously because you can't. To me, it's like I don't want to hear you joke on liberals for wearing the mask, but you on that plane wearing the mask, you can go get paid for a gig. I can't. Me personally, it's just hypocrisy. So. The one thing I don't want to be is a hypocrite. So, that showed me a lot of what I needed to see.
Osigah, you got some bars? Let's hear it.
No, I'm not a rapper. They always say, every,
I did I let you? I did like a freestyle at the church years back over the Walk It Out beat, and they was playing the Walk It Out beat, and I just grabbed the microphone. And I love the back and forth, man. I really, like I said, I'm a fan of the wordplay, and I love when it actually is saying something good, and that's why I like what you're saying. And I appreciate you guys coming on the show. Really, really, really do. So, guys, before we get out of here, anything at all you guys want to promote or say? Any upcoming events? How about your fight?
Yeah, July 12th, my first fight. Getting in the boxing ring. The fight is actually in Nashville at the Texas Troubadour. And you can buy it for PPV for $10. I'm not getting a dime from it, but I don't really care. I told them I'd do it for free. Just put me in the ring. I want to test out my skills. You know what I'm saying? And to fight somebody better. If I lose, that means I need to go back to the drawing board and get better. So, win, lose, or draw, I will be there. And I've been training very hard. I just literally, before I came on the podcast, I did sparring with my coach. I came home, changed shirts, put on the hat, and got straight on here.
and Osigah, let's hear about the podcast real quick before you get out of here. What was your podcast?
Yeah, so absolutely. As far as conservative value, I want to mainly talk about my nonprofit and also the podcast that I'll be starting soon. So my nonprofit is Smart Offering. So basically, it helps people learn new skills and trades. And in contrast to the average person going to college and getting into tremendous debt, studying maybe lesbian dance theory, and then when they finish college, they're surprised that nobody's hiring lesbian dance theorists, and they're in hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt or whatever. So the podcast basically is going to be called the How To Podcast, and it's going to bring on regular, everyday people like you and me, but main focus of people who do not have the traditional college degree, but we're talking about plumbers, electricians, certain types of nurses, CNAs, firefighters, different quality jobs today that earn well and that they support their families and things like that. And basically, it's going to talk to the youth about how to get into those professions and learn that skill or trade. It's showing them that college is not for everybody and it's not the end all, and they don't have to automatically sign their life away when they graduate high school to go to a college and get in debt. Pretty much that's just the point of it. And so far it looks like it's going to go on PPN, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, we really welcome you. I'm going to help you get it all ready. So guys, you just heard it's official. We're going to have them on PPN. We're just going to work out the time and dates. And we'll have them on weekly, and I can't wait. Michaela, Nicolette, Jay, everybody's coming on. I'm giving everybody a place because, like I said, it's about helping to build this culture, this culture that's helping to make everybody rise. Right? What is it? What is this saying? A rising tide raises all ships. Well, I need everybody to get in the water so we can raise all these ships, and this is part of it. This is exactly part of it. Guys, appreciate you coming in and spending this time with us. We went way over our time, and you guys have been grateful. I appreciate it so much, and I know Maurice does too. Maurice, you want to say anything before I end it, brother?
God bless you guys, and God bless America. Thank you for coming on.
Right. And do me a favor before we get out of here. Your videos are uploading to the podcast. So when we end the broadcast, stay on for just a minute. Don't leave. And I'm going to talk to you right before we get out of here. So we'll be right back. As usual, the silent majority, you need to stop being silent and stand your ground. We'll see you next time on the Patriots Prayer.
My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is America.